What are you still mad about? When I was 7, I spent the night at my cousin's house. Before dinner, my uncle led the prayer. When he finished, my cousin blurts up had his eyes open while you prayed. So my uncle railed on me about how it's disrespectful to have your eyes open while you pray. I said how did he know my eyes were open if his eyes were closed? My uncle told me I couldn't have dessert. I never had my eyes open during the prayer. Bitch. Back in my junior year history class, we were writing an open book quiz. I dropped my pencil and it bounced under the desk of a guy next to me. He noticed and picked it up. My teacher immediately failed both of us for cheating. The quiz was maybe 5% of our grade, and it was 20 years ago, but it still burns my grits. My high school physics teacher failed me on a test because my deskmate was copying from me. Like she saw who was copying from who, knew I was the best in class, and mentioned because she copied from me we're both failing. The reasoning was something along the lines to make me so angry that I wouldn't let others take from me. Like bitch I don't care. If I rob your house you go to jail with me because you should protect your house better. When I was in kindergarten, my school had a student Olympics where all the kids would participate in physical competitions, like sprinting and jump ropes or other kid-friendly competitions. I was in the lead for the sprinting competition and it was the final lap. I was gonna win, I was so close. But one of my classmates ran behind me, and shoved me down, making my knee bleed profusely. I don't care that I was injured, I'm just fucking pissed that that dipshit won. He didn't even get in trouble. I'm still pissed about that. Fuck you Michael. I was doing a relay race in kindergarten and was about to win but I slipped and my foot goes over the finish line but the teachers didn't count it so I got last. Bank of America doing their best to fuck up my home loan 10 years ago. Even though it eventually was sorted out, my blood pressure rises every time I think about it. Oh man. Bank of America bought my mortgage up for my last house that ultimately ended in foreclosure back in 2011. Flash forward to last year when I was working on buying another house, but the loan was turned down because Bank of America hadn't bothered to file the paperwork until 2016 making it look like my foreclosure was too recent. Burn them to the ground. When I was in the 6th grade, I had trouble with math, and as such, tended to ask a lot of questions in class. Once, when we were reviewing something, I think it was algebra, I raised my hand to ask a question because I didn't understand, and the teacher said, in an annoyed tone and totally serious, "Oh, geez. I guess you can bring a horse to water but you can't make it drink." Embarrassed me to the point where I never asked questions in that class again and ended up just barely passing. I'm 25 now, and it still makes me mad. Fuck you, Mrs. Magnuson. I quietly asked a friend for pencil lead in math class once and my teacher laid into me for talking over him but I needed the lead to write notes or I'd fall behind. I'm a teacher now and I constantly remind myself and others that kids being disruptive is almost never malicious, they just need something. I graduated in 2008, in the middle of that recession. There were no jobs available because I was magically overqualified with my college degree and underqualified with no experience. I got one interview and I was perfect for the job, but the employer said that I lived too far away. The commute would have been an hour and 10 minutes. But I was willing to move because I had just finished school and there was nothing keeping me in my college town. The interviewer just kept shaking his head saying that's too far of a drive. Dude, fucking listen to me. It would have been an awesome job. I had a pretty similar experience the other day. An interviewer asked about my living situation and got mad when I told her that I'll probably be moving to a city 40 minutes away from the one where I'm living right now, because we're in the middle of a housing crisis and it's pretty much impossible to find somewhere to live in this city, unless you're rich. I told her that I could commute there, but she just wasn't having it and kept asking if I was just going to leave the city like that. It was definitely a weird experience. Being the only second grade class in the history of my school to miss out on the annual apple picking trip, all because a group of boys had been consistently acting out for a while. The teachers believed the best way to punish them was to pull the field trip from everyone. Of course, the boys didn't learn anything from it, and I was left quite bitter. We went on a school trip for geography class to some hills to take pictures of wildlife, etc. I had permission as everyone else, I was walking fine but I'd had 2 knee operations and missed almost 6 months of school. They did one knee at a time to allow for some recovering before doing the other. So on the day of the trip I go to school, do this 2.5-hour coach ride and get there. Then they tell me because I have bad knees I can't go on the walk, the entire point of the trip, and had to stay in the cafe at the start of the trail. If they weren't going to let me go on the walk itself, why on earth did they both say nothing before it and even ask me for a permission slip? I could have either stayed in school and done my other classes or just stayed home. That along with almost every other big thing I can remember that happened in school made me think that schools are run by morons. I was working at a large nationwide retail store a few years back. My girlfriend, now wife, had brought me half a pizza so I could eat something. So I take it to the back, write my name real big on the box, and put it in the refrigerator. 2 hours later I go on my lunch break, grab the box and it feels a little off. I set it on a table and open it up. Empty. Some jackass ate all 4 slices of pizza and put the empty box back in the refrigerator. I'll never know who it was since the break room doesn't have cameras, and there are so many employees that go in and out within the 2-hour window. I don't have the words for what I felt, but it was somewhere between just sobbing on the floor and rage. I was so happy that my so thought of me enough to bring me food. And was really looking forward to it because I almost never ate at work. Only to get in there and open an empty box. Fuck you fellow large nationwide retail store employee. My mom let my sister play Nintendogs on my DS. She wanted to buy a new dog. The problem was to do that she had to delete another dog and she deleted Bello, my best dog that I had trained for over a year. My sister was 4 at the time but I am still mad about it. The same happened to me. My little brother deleted some of my dogs including the first one I got, which was also my favorite, when I was 19 and my sister was 16. My parents bought sister her first car. They said it wasn't truly hers, but when either of theirs weren't working they always asked her permission to borrow it. That car eventually was passed to me when they gave her second car. This car was a gift from one of my father's co-workers. The man told him it was for his daughter since the guy worked with my dad since my mom was pregnant with her. When I pointed out that my sister already had a car it made sense to give it to me. My father explained that since the guy didn't know I existed, the car had to go to my sister. Makes no sense to me, but I'm not about to argue with my dad. So, I asked that if when I'm ready to get my own car could they help me out. He agreed. Time comes when I've been working a while and the piece of crap I'd gotten from my sis is on its last legs. I did some shopping around and found something. I asked if they could help as they'd promised. I kid you not, my sister called a family meeting and convinced my parents that they shouldn't help me out because I had a job. They of course agreed with her. I'm in my 50s still bitter. Thanks sis. Edited to add a time frame. I gotta ask why she even cared so much as to call a family meeting just to convince them not to help you? That's so messed up. Christmas Day when I was 8 I rode my brand new scooter to grandma's to show my uncle and left it in the front yard. I came out with my uncle less than 5 minutes later and someone stole that motherfucker. Edit, I don't remember this but I was talking to my brother. Apparently he was there too and got his scooter stolen as well. My father's godson had that happen to a bike when he was about 8 or 9. He parked the bike on his porch and popped inside to tell his mom where he was going next. God bless 80s kids. In that 2 minutes, the bike got snatched. So my dad was consoling him and said, "Hey, let's just go to the store and I'll buy you the exact same bike, you'll never even know yours is gone." And this kid stopped crying and asked, "Could I get a better one?" As if he were filing an insurance claim. Said godson is now 40 and has a 6-year-old of his own and my father has definitely never let anyone forget this story. My dad always harassed me for not liking watermelon. He called me picky. I was one of the most open-minded kid eaters ever. I ate everything put in front of me. My dad would not eat squash. The hypocrisy. What people don't realize is we all have unique taste buds that interpret things differently from others. Some foods such as cilantro and goat cheese affect a higher percentage of people but others are much rarer. I had a friend who was a normal eater but watermelon tasted like garbage to them. That was the proof I needed that we all taste things differently because there is no way in hell anyone would hate watermelon if it tasted the same to others as it does to me. My mom surrendered my dog while I was at school cause she, the dog, kept eating my shoes. This was 15 years ago. I have a great relationship with my mom now, but I'm still mad about that one. My mom said she gave me kitten to a lonely old lady. I was devastated but after a few years I started to think the kitten was knocked down and she didn't have the heart to tell me. I asked her and she seemed confused and then said, "Yes, the kitten died." Okay, I could have dealt with that rather than wondering where the fuck my kitten was. A few years later I randomly mentioned the kitten getting knocked down and she's back saying she gave it to the old lady. Mom, what the fuck happened to Gizmo? I just want closure.